Bar for Bar album reviews. Electronica, a written testimony. A Written Testimony is the long-awaited debut album from New Orleans recluse Electronica. It's been over 10 years since he dropped Exhibit C. That's where Electronica demonstrated his lyrical prowess, so the anticipation for this album is well deserved. The rollout for this album started about a month before its March 13th release, where he announced on Twitter that he finished the album or project in 40 days. When the statement was made, everyone assumed that the album would be dropping in 40 days, which would have made it March 18th. With that said, it's uncertain if the album was actually done at that time or if he just felt pressured to release it. So let's get this out of the way first. The album is good, but it's not great. I enjoyed my first few listens to it because of the excitement, and it's still fine to throw around and have on in the background, but it's not something that I really feel like I would be going back to too frequently, aside from a couple of tracks. The biggest issue that I have with this, or with Electronica's debut album, is that it felt more like a JayZ album. It's almost as if they messed up the artist name when they're doing the album files, but there's we'll just go with it, it's fine. The reason that it feels more like a Hove album is because he was on damn near every track, and he was front and center on every single one of the tracks that he was actually on, even the ones that he didn't have a proper verse on. It feels as though Elec only had some of this album done at the time of recording and release, and JayZ just kind of came in to fill in the open space left on the track. The only reason I feel like this is because Hove's vocals aren't mixed that well on every track, aside from the Blinding and Shiny Suit Theory. That and the only track that didn't feature JayZ was Fruits of the Spirit, which also happened to be the shortest track. It's almost like Elec only had one verse for each of these tracks done, with the exception of Ezekiel's Wheel, where he actually had two. It's almost like JayZ went out of his way to outperform and out-rap Electronica every chance he got. Because Jay is just so much more aggressive, I guess you could say. It also feels just that they weren't really collaborating well on the album. It's because, like I said, Jay came in with different flow and energy and delivery than Elec did. It kind of feels like Elec just kind of sent him the instrumental and the topic of the track, but didn't give JayZ an idea of what his own delivery was going to be. So there's that mismatch there. Like I was saying, Hove just felt aggressive compared to Electronica. If this album was primarily Electronica, I feel like the issues that I have wouldn't be as prevalent. So if there were more solo tracks, or if JayZ wasn't on every track, or if he kind of did what he did on the last couple tracks, where he was just kind of on the chorus. Electronica sounds good here. He sounds really good and comfortable. But because Hove's featured so heavily, it's hard not to compare them. Elec says a lot of things here, but I don't know, maybe it's because the delivery is more laid back than Hove, or just like the way his vocals got mixed, it's just harder for me personally to adjust my ear to pay attention to what he's saying. Like, lines that Hove dropped are much more memorable to me than anything that Jay said, or Jay-Elec. For example, on Flux Capacitor, JayZ said, "You backstabber is going to turn me back to the old Jay. He's not who you want to see. He's not as sweet as the old Ye." Like, there's so many standout lines from JayZ just like that, where, like, I can't even pick a random Jay Electronica line to pull out from that album. However, the most memorable moments from Jay-Elec probably comes from the last two tracks on the album, Ezekiel's Wheel and APIDTA. And this is really likely because JayZ didn't have a verse to just steal all the attention with. On Ezekiel's Wheel, Jay-Elec opens up about where he's been, saying that he has been facing writer's block, and that him being more present in hip-hop doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be more appreciated. He also dropped a line saying, on the same track, "My debut album featuring Hove, man, this is highway robbery." It's hard to say if he said this because he expected the album to do really well because JayZ was on it, or if it was just a general statement. Like, if it was going to be because JayZ was on it, he probably would have credited him on every song, or the album would have been released under JayZ and Jay Electronica, or Jay Electronica and JayZ. But it could also just be that this is a general statement, like, hey, look at me, I got JayZ on my album. Ain't that crazy? I don't know if originally it was just going to be like one or two features from JayZ, because Shiny Suit Theory's been out for 10 years. So maybe that's the only one he had planned. And then JayZ is just like, nah, man, I'm going to just get on all these tracks. Anyways, on the last track, APIDTA, JayZ's only featured on the chorus, where he's pretty much just saying, "I've got numbers on in my phone that'll never ring again." This is a really somber track and kind of sad way to end the album. This track really just has Jay-Elec reflecting on the passing of his mother. And it's probably the most vulnerable you've heard him, because everyone just kind of thinks of him as like this guy that just does rap and only rap. Well, with all that said, I'll reiterate my point mentioned at the top of the review. This album is good, and it definitely deserves a listen. I might be disappointed with what we got, especially after his 10-year hiatus, but that shouldn't stop anyone else from enjoying it. Some of my favorite tracks from this album are Ghost of Soulja Slim, The Blinding, Universal Soldier, and Flux Capacitor. Hopefully, with the release of this album, we start seeing more music from Jay-Elec, whether that be in the form of more features, which he's been doing here and there, or a full solo album without any features. Regardless, I'm looking forward to whatever comes next, as long as it's near or at the same level as Exhibit C. That's all I got. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And also check out the other reviews and let me know what else you want me to review.